What is going on with y'all, man? It is Black Balloon, and I'm coming back with another video, man. So y'all already know what's going on, all right? So a bunch of you guys requested for us to do the part 2 on the Boule Secret Society, right? And y'all know most of part 1 was like the history, the symbolism, um, good bit of Kobe Bryant, LeBron. We went into all of that stuff in part 1 of the ancient Boule Secret Society, right? Now, in this video, I was kind of debating with myself if I was going to, like pull up some different people talking about the Boule Society, right? But most of the stuff I found was kind of like repeating the same information we did in part 1, right? So it brought me back to the podcast where we originally started, right? Now, the second half of that podcast is almost, you know, I don't know, he might have been more on fire in the second half of this podcast than in the first part that we went over, right? Now, in this part, he goes on to talk about exactly with the research crazy. The research is crazy. I gotta really give it to Bishop Larry Gators, man. He went crazy. He goes into really good detail of why Kobe was assassinated, right? He talks about the helicopter that he was on. He talks about who owns the helicopter, why he wasn't on his original helicopter and was made to be put on the helicopter he supposedly died in. He also talks about George Floyd, his connection back to Freemasons. The way he puts it together is honestly is insane. The research is all the way there. And after we do this part 2 on Kobe and the Boule Society, it's really 99% that this was all orchestrated, and it started all the way back in 2003 when Kobe joined these societies so he could get out of that R case that he had against him in Colorado, home of, you know, home of the military psyop. Some people even say, I think it was from that video with Nathan Reynolds. He said that Colorado is going to be the base of the NWO. So much just comes out of Colorado that it didn't surprise me that that R case against Kobe was in Colorado, right? So basically, that's where it all started, all the way up until 2016 when Kobe retired. It started, the roots of it is back in 2003 for that R case when he decided to join the Boule, join the Thelema Society, so on and so on, right? So I'm not going to talk too much because we already know the podcast, Apollo the Original. For y'all who haven't seen it, I will link it again um, in the comments. So y'all could definitely check it out if y'all haven't went and watched it. But for those who haven't, or if you're new to the channel, this is the part 2. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. So I think I sectioned off about 3 parts I want y'all to hear. And yeah, man, we're going to talk about it some more, all right? Check this out.
Why am I bringing up Dr. King and the Nation of Islam? Because Kobe Bryant's life was surrounded by people who had used him in order to clean up their image. So the 13 families in the history of Sigma Pi Phi, that 1969 book, and now we come up to Kobe Bean Bryant. Now, I got to say this, okay? That Kobe Bean Bryant was scheduled to go to court had he lived 3 days after he was taken out on the 26th of January 2020. He was scheduled to be at the Los Angeles Superior Court on the 29th on that Wednesday had he lived. So with Kobe in Colorado, Caitlin Faber, okay, she invites him. And let's go up to your room. That's not her job. Her job is not to go up to Kobe's room. Her job was a host at the Cordelia Hotel that at the time was owned by the Prisker
Brisker.
family at the time out of Chicago. So she cries rape. Okay. And don't get me wrong, if Kobe was guilty, he should have been sent to prison. I have no problem. She doesn't call the police. She doesn't call the sheriff's department. She doesn't even call home to her parents. She goes to her boyfriend's house and has sex that night, wearing the same dress with Kobe's DNA on it.
You're not gonna have sex after you've been raped.
After you be right. So someone's lying. Either Kobe's lying, she's lying. So wait a minute. She doesn't call the police. She doesn't call the sheriff's department. She doesn't call the executives of the hood, and she doesn't even call her parents, who are Phi Beta Kappa, good friends with Dr. Richard Stedman, Kobe's knee doctor. Next day, she goes home, and her parents say, "Where have you been?" "I've been raped." "By who?" "Kobe Bryant." "Okay, dollar signs now." They arrest Kobe Bryant the following day, Eagle, Colorado. An attorney is given to Kobe by Dr. Jerry Buss, who also gave Kobe this knee doctor, Phi Beta Kappa, Dr. Richard Stedman. The lawyer's name is Pamela Mackey. Pamela Mackey's law firm represents Harvey Weinstein. Pamela Mackey's law firm also represents R. Kelly. Pamela Mackey's law firm is doing the legwork for the Diddy case, even though they don't represent Diddy, but they're doing the legwork as far as the legal background work of what happened.
Now that is crazy. I just had to jump in and say that. You see, these people go all the way back to 2003 in Kobe's R case, and these same people are representing all the way up till 2025 people who are in the industry, who are part of the Boule Society, especially Diddy. Not completely sure about R. Kelly, but he could be. Also, he mentioned Harvey Weinstein. We know his story and the whole Me Too thing back in what, 2017? All of these people use the same lawyers, you know, keep it in the family, keep it in the society, all the way up to the current case with Diddy. The research is crazy here. The research is crazy.
Happened, okay, and as to why the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security raided his homes. Okay. So Pamela Mackey is Phi Beta Kappa. So is Kobe's knee doctor, Dr. Richard Stedman, Phi Beta Kappa. So is the parents of Caitlin Faber, Phi Beta Kappa. So Kobe says he's innocent. Okay. Pays her off, goes back to Los Angeles. All of a sudden, he gets tattooed. He becomes a member of the Boule Secret Society.
And he got a crown?
The crown, that's it. The crown. And as a quick side note, you hit a powerful nerve with me on that term crown. The individual who was assassinated or killed by the police, supposedly the police, in Minneapolis, the young African-American man that caused this outbreak.
George Floyd.
George Floyd. The George Floyd used a $20 counterfeit bill
Yeah.
that had the same serial number that the FBI confiscated a month before Kobe's death in December of 2019. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security confiscated nearly $1 million of counterfeit money that came up out of China that has that serial number that was also on the $20 bill that George Floyd tried to use.
How do you know that?
Yo, first off, I gotta say, that is insane. What was George Floyd doing with that money? What was he doing with that money, y'all? all the way from China. What was he doing with that money? And there's like plenty of pictures, and y'all know this stuff was going around crazy that supported that George was a Freemason. We're not gonna completely get into that in this video. Yo, the research is crazy. How did he have money that came all the way from China that the FBI supposedly confiscated? It really makes you think, who is this guy? That's crazy. Let's just let's get right back into it.
And not just, I thank God for my staff here. We have a small staff here in Los Angeles and a small staff in New York. And I also had 3 contacts with a particular law enforcement agency, so I can't reveal the names because I don't want to be 6 feet under, and God knows I'm not stupid. But they give me information. I'm not allowed to take any. I can't believe I'm telling you this, but they give me information. I have to memorize it, and so I don't want my life to be on the line. But to the average person, they think that this is crazy.
But just for the record, you're not suicidal
I'm not suicidal
at all.
To our listeners, I'm not suicidal.
Me neither.
I'm happy with my life, thank God, and I have no intentions of committing suicide. I'm not sick. I have no disease, thank God, by His grace. So, George Floyd, and 60 to 65% of the buildings that were burnt down, okay, were insured through Berkshire Hathaway. Okay.
Buffett.
Who owns Berkshire Hathaway?
Buffett and Charlie Munger, who's deceased.
There you go. He's the one that also not only cashed in, but 65% of those buildings that were destroyed by Black Lives Matter, who are led by 3 black witches, okay? Patrice Cullors, Oprah Tometi, and the third one, Alicia Garza. They're witches. They believe in the West African religion, Odu Ifa, O-D-U space I-F-A, which is a West African witchcraft religion of the demons possessing 16 points of the body. But yet there are 16 chapters of Black Lives Matter. 15 here in the United States, 1 in Canada, 16. And so I was on the Alex Jones show exposing this some years ago. And so 65% of the buildings that were destroyed during that riot in Minneapolis were insured through Berkshire Hathaway. Remember those thousands, actually hundreds of bricks that were found throughout Minneapolis, and many of the rioters were using came from Berkshire Hathaway, which Warren Buffett says he has nothing to do with. Okay. You see, this is called problem reaction solution, where the deep state creates a catastrophe because they know that black folk, not all of us, but a high percentage, they're going to react because we have never dealt with our historical pain and we've never dealt with our historical trauma. So they manipulate our pain and they weaponize our trauma against us. So George Floyd was a bouncer at the El Nove nightclub in Minneapolis. The owner of the nightclub, who hired Derek Chauvin, the cop, right? He was security for the El Nove nightclub. Kobe Bryant and his wife were frequent guests at that nightclub when Kobe was playing for the Lakers, and once a year they would go to Minneapolis to play against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay.
This is probably, I don't know, maybe my 7th time going over this section. Like now I'm kind of, doing it with y'all. But every time I hear it, I'm still amazed at the connections. I'm still amazed of the names that come up. Not surprised, Warren Buffett, the 3 witches of the BLM movement. I'm not surprised. It takes it back to the Hegelian dialect as well. Y'all remember we went over that a long time ago with Prodigy. The problem, action, solution, given to you. They give you the problem. they give you the solution. You know, it's a control tool, it's manipulation, it's mind control at the end of the day. And a lot of people still don't realize it. It's witchcraft, basically. It's witchcraft. You know, a lot of people are still very vulnerable to this kind of stuff because they're blinded. They're blinded. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. We're going to get into this next section. And then we have one more that we do got one more, right? Yeah, we got one more piece of this episode I want y'all to listen to. And we're going to come back and talk about it. All right.
Why was he taken out? Well, he had a major lawsuit against three of the most powerful pharmaceutical industries during that time, going back to the year 2020. The NSAID Therapeutic Corporation, INSYS, out of Chandler, Arizona. The Acorn pharmaceutical industry, which is now defunct as of going back to 2023. I believe they filed chapters 7, 9, and 11 bankruptcy. They were out of Lake Forest, Illinois. And Acorn had bought high-tech pharmaceuticals out of Lacrosse, Georgia, whose owner, Jared Wheat, is being investigated by the FBI and the SEC for insider trading. Why would Kobe go after these pharmaceutical corporations who are owned by one of the most powerful entities on this earth, the Novartis AG Group out of Basel, Switzerland, who does the drug testing for the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball, you see. So Kobe was a threat to the system. He was suing these entities because not just because they was using his nickname, Black Mamba, as through their hyper rush pills, but also Kobe said, I'm going to expose you, NSAID, Acorn with the K, and I'm going to expose you, high-tech pharmaceuticals, because you're lacing these weight loss pills with opioid substances that also cause cancer.
Now, this part, this is crazy because I don't think I've ever heard that. Now, when Kobe died, we all, you know, we started getting wind of the fact that he was suing these pharmaceutical companies. Bishop Larry just gave you the reason why, also just gave you their names, who they are connected to, all the way back to Switzerland. And they are actually the companies that are behind drug testing for all major sports, basically, including hockey. And they were using these pills that were laced with opiates and it caused cancer. Not only using his name, his brand, I guess some of his likeness, right? And the crazy part about it, if you remember in the beginning, Kobe was 3 days away, 3 days away from testifying. Just that numerology alone lines up with the assassination, the alleged assassination of Kobe Bryant. Because as he's going to continue to say, you know, the deep state, the people who are in charge of these type of companies, it doesn't matter. They don't care who you are. They don't care who's on the helicopter. They don't care who's on the plane, because he also mentions the MH370 plane from Indonesia that had those scientists on it. They don't care. If they want you, whoever else is around you is going to be collateral damage, and you're going to get up out of here regardless. It's crazy. It's crazy. 3 days away. He was 3 days away from testifying. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like, even still going back over this, it's just mind blowing. Look at his face right here. He like, yeah, I'm hitting you with this, hitting you with this information. It's real.
See, the deep state doesn't care if your name is Kobe. They don't care if you. Okay, look at Michael Jordan. Not to go all over the map. We're talking about not just Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed, but the immaculate deception of history. Michael Jordan, and we're coming back to Kobe and to the Boule.
Just for the record, he's the goat.
He's they
No
and
doubt, no doubt about
well,
it.
I don't use that. I don't like to use that word goat, GOAT,
Yeah, yeah. The
because of
greatest of
Alpha
all.
Man. Yeah,
Yes.
but there's yeah, exactly. And so
Not LeBron.
no, but no, I'll get back to LeBron. He's the greatest fraud ever perpetrated upon the American public. LeBron, and he knew Kobe was going to die. Interesting. The day before Kobe's death, LeBron was in Philadelphia. The Lakers were playing against the
Sixers.
Sixers, and there were symbols on that court of a serpent being chopped up, right? And these are Luciferic, septagon, octagon, deep state symbols of a pre-scheduled death. This was the day before Kobe's death. And the
It was
deep,
on displays?
huh?
It was on displays?
It was on the floor of the home court of the Philadelphia 76ers at that time, right? On the 25th of January, on a
Serpent
Saturday.
chopped.
A serpent being chopped up in 3 to 4 pieces.
Mamba is a serpent.
A mamba is a serpent. And so, and why would Kobe call himself the Black Mamba? You see, he didn't have the Holy Spirit like you and I have. And see, people say, oh, he was Catholic. I tell people, stop. He was not saved. He didn't have the Holy Spirit. He did not have the gift of discernment like you and I have. So Kobe Bryant was a lover of Persian military history.
By the way, I have to come in and say this just really quick. It was really dope how someone in the last video, when we were talking about antimatter and how it makes up everything we can't see, someone said they related to the Holy Spirit being around us and in us at all times to antimatter, because it's also something that we cannot see. I just thought I should throw that in here because I really thought that was, you know, that was very interesting. It makes a lot of sense.
Many of the soldiers would replicate a certain animal that they would cut open, place its blood on its chest, on its chest piece, right? On its breastplate, and would suck the blood before going into battle. Kobe Bryant did that with his jersey.
Right.
So not just the Persian soldiers, but the soldiers during the Greek and Roman empires. They wanted to replicate a black mamba. They wanted to replicate a cobra by extracting not just the venom, but the blood to put it on their chests, the breastplates, to suck it during battle so they could replicate the mamba. Kobe did this during those games, his jersey.
Do you think that he did it consciously?
He did it consciously.
He knew about it.
He knew about it. He absolutely knew about it. And so to the average person, Brother Apollo, they don't understand this because their thinking is not on this level.
He was about to get into some of the C word stuff that happened back in 2020, and we are definitely not about to risk that being in this video. Now, I don't know if y'all want to think that this is a reach or not. He's definitely, now in this one, definitely looks like he's sucking on this jersey. I don't know if y'all want to think he's reaching with this whole thing and the symbolism that it represents. I've never heard this stuff. I've never heard this before. I'm not the type, I wouldn't be here if I dismissed things that I've never heard, or if it didn't interest me or pique, my imagination, because there's still so much about this world, about symbolism, that we do not know. You have to remember, we are not initiated. So something as simple as this, the interviewer of the podcast, he said, so he was doing it on purpose. Bishop said, yes, he knew he was doing this. Now, you could call this a habit. You could call this something that, he just liked to chew his jersey. Even this right here on SBNation.com, this article says, why does Kobe Bryant chew his jersey? Now, I don't know what they're going to say. And it says this was his bizarre trademark. The article says, whenever he finally retires, my lasting image of him will probably be Kobe chewing on his jersey. little do they know the symbolism that is behind this. Never heard this in my life. And look, it's one thing to see Kobe chew a jersey and think he's a hyper competitive weirdo with too much energy. It's quite another to know there's a method to the madness and he's actually sucking his sweat the entire time. It's just a disgusting little trick. Yo. Yo. I'm like, I'm damn near mind blown. Wait a second. Wait a second. We gotta go back a second.
Not just Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed, but the Immaculate Deception would replicate a certain animal that they would cut open, place its blood on its chest piece, right? On its breastplate, and would suck the blood before going into battle. Kobe Bryant did that with his jersey.
Right.
So not just the Persian soldiers, but the soldiers during the Greek and Roman empires. They wanted to replicate a black mamba. They wanted to replicate a cobra.
Yo, going all the way back to the Persian and Greek Empire of soldiers in battle who wanted to replicate a black mamba, a serpent, as if they were sucking, sucking the blood, sucking the venom. I don't know. But this is, I don't know. To me, y'all, this is mind blowing because at first I was like, I don't know. Maybe he reaching a little bit. But this article literally tells you he's actually sucking his sweat the entire time. And people do not know the symbolism of this. And he's very confident he was doing this on purpose. I mean, think about it. The man is playing and sucking his sweat. Look at this. This is in the game. This ain't a pause, a timeout. He has the ball in his hand. He's being guarded. Think about this, y'all. So, man, the stuff that Kobe was involved in, the Boule, the Thelema Society, the stuff that, he probably had to study and become aware of. This is stuff you would never think of. The average, I'm not even going to say the average basketball fan. There are die-hard Kobe fans to this day. They have no idea what this represents. I even wish the podcast, the Apollo, the original podcast, deserve 1 million views for this kind of information. 99% of Kobe fans do not know what this means, and he just told us. They have no idea the history of this right here. No idea why he is portraying a black mamba sucking on the sweat of his jersey. And it may be your own sweat, but nobody's doing this. Sweat tastes nasty, even if it's from you. It's salty, got a little smell after a while. No one's doing this. Yo, I'm blown away. I'm not even gonna lie. And I this is probably my 6th or 7th time listening to it. Look, we're gonna get into a little bit more about the helicopter, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap the video up. All right, check this out.
And so, getting back to Kobe, before we get back to Kobe, so then when we talk about Kobe's fascination with fallen angels, okay, it is so very powerful to note that Kobe was set to testify on the 29th. Okay. Then we're told, okay, it was because of the wind, the cloud, and the rain. Well, that's garbage because the LAPD, we're told, was given clearance, okay, to fly that day. Then at the last minute, they didn't fly, the LAPD. So the LAPD was first given clearance to fly, but they decided not to. And so did the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. They didn't fly that day. But who gave Kobe clearance to fly that day? Okay. Out of John Wayne Airport, which is the same airport where you have the executives of the W Hotel, Okay, back in 2018, 2 years before Kobe's death, they died in a helicopter crash near Manhattan Beach. The executives of the W Hotel that Ed Buck and his boyfriend, Adam Schiff, often frequented that hotel. And Kobe was at that hotel between 2011 and 2012 because he was separated from Vanessa Bryant. What did Kobe see? And so when we talk about the Sikorsky 76B helicopter, now the Sikorsky 76B helicopter, we're talking about the Marmon group out of Chicago.
Excuse me, did you mention Adam Schiff?
Adam Schiff, the Senator Adam Schiff, his best friend, Ed Buck, who is serving a 30-year prison sentence for not just for child rape, but for the murder of two men, giving them injections of meth, two black men who were homeless. So he's in prison now, Ed Buck. But Adam Schiff frequented that hotel.
The congressman.
The congressman, right.
Adam Schiff.
Yeah, and Kobe was going to testify on behalf of that because Adam Schiff has major shares in the NSA Theater Corporation and Acorn and High-Tech Pharmaceuticals. Kobe was set to testify that Wednesday, the 29th, at the Los Angeles Superior Court had he lived. So the W Hotel that also Bill Clinton had frequented, the executives of the hotel died mysteriously in a helicopter crash 2 years before Kobe's death. And so this Sikorsky 76B helicopter was first built in the Netherlands by the KLM Helicopter Corporation in 1987 for the cost of $710,903. And later in 2015, from 1987 to 2010, it was built, it was constructed and registered in the Netherlands by the KLN Helicopters, Copters with the K Corporation, then sold in 2010 to the state of Illinois out of Springfield. So wait a minute, so the state of Illinois and Springfield owned the helicopter. Then it was sold to the Marmon Group, previously was owned by the Prisker family. The Marmon Group was created in 1953 by J. and Richard Prisker. And decades later, who is now the governor of Illinois, J.B. Prisker, was the chairman of the Marmon Group, who sold the Sikorsky 76B helicopter in 2015 to the Island Express Holdings Group here in Van Nuys, California, for $515,000. 5 years before Kobe's death, okay? And the tail number was not N72EX. In 2015, it was N71EX. It was changed to 72EX by the Island Holdings Group. It gets deeper. So then, Kobe wasn't even supposed to fly on that plane, but he was told that his black helicopter given to him by the Nike Corporation has some technical difficulties. So he was instructed by someone at the John Wayne Airport to fly the Sikorsky 76B helicopter. Now, it's interesting about the creator of the Sikorsky Corporation, who was a 31.5 degree Russian Mason of the Scottish Rite Order, a man by the name of Igor Sikorsky. And all of your beautiful listeners can go on Wikipedia and type in Igor, I-G-O-R, Sikorsky. When you go on that Wikipedia page under Igor Sikorsky, the second page down, okay, which would be to your right, to our right, to the left of the page, it shows a young Igor Sikorsky having his right hand inside of his jacket pocket with his thumb and his pinky outside. That's a high level
Mason.
Masonic symbol.
Stalin did that. Napoleon did that.
Oh, that's it. No, but that's it. All of those are part of the global Luciferic Illuminati had that hand sign. If the left hand is inside of the jacket pocket, it means the individual is out of favor out of the Masonic order. So the right
You're
hand means
right.
they're in favor. The left hand means they're out of favor. So as we wrap this up, not just Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian project completed, but the immaculate deception of history. So that Sikorsky 76B helicopter flown by Kobe's group, there were 9 people. See, the deep state doesn't care how many is on a plane or helicopter. If
Kids.
they don't, that's it. If they want a person, one, they'll take out the whole plane. Okay, that's like that Malaysian flight. Okay, 370. There were a group of Chinese nationals who worked for a company called Freescale Semiconductor out of Austin, Texas, that were making microchips. Okay, for Chinese intelligence that had the ability to control planes, cars, trains, stock markets. So Jacob Rothschild did not want that information to get to Beijing. So all of a sudden, this plane disappears. It's actually on the island of Diego Garcia.
All I have to say is wow, y'all. Now we all know about the hidden hand in the deep state in the free Masonic world is a 33rd degree Russian Freemason, as was stated by Bishop Larry. Goes all the way back to the ownership and the creation of the Sikorsky helicopter that Kobe was actually forced to ride in, said so conveniently his own black helicopter that was provided by the Nike Corporation had technical difficulties the day of his alleged assassination. Just look at this on the screen, y'all. Goes all the way back. This picture was from 1914. That's why I said the research was outstanding. And the two executive owners of the hotel who died 2 years before Kobe died in the same fashion, mysterious deaths of the hotel that him and his wife would frequent, died exactly the same way as Kobe 2 years before. That's what I said. This has to be one of the best podcast episodes I have seen. By far the best on the Boule and Kobe Bryant's demise, his alleged assassination. That's why I said he might have been even more on fire in the second half of this episode. Now, he was going in and talking about MH370, but we've already covered that pretty extensively. We actually talked about everything that he mentioned as far as those three scientists and Diego Garcia military base. Y'all remember that video? We pretty much got the gist of where MH370 supposedly disappeared to, but it's just another example of what and how far they will go in order to get you, basically. Amazing information, y'all. Amazing information. I definitely urge you, if you are interested in this topic, go and listen to the entire podcast. Hey, if you want, rewind this video. You know, amazing. I don't have to say much more. Like I said, he Bishop Larry explains it, especially on this topic, like no other, y'all. So I'm gonna leave this picture right here on the screen. Get a load of that. That right hand is hidden. That thumb and that pinky is strategically placed outside of the jacket. This world is wicked. Truth far, far stranger than fiction. We still don't have the entire truth about everything that we seek. The truth that we seek, the knowledge we are starting to understand. Um, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love this kind of stuff, man. And yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about this video. Get down in the comments. This was part 2. A little bit longer than the first part, but it sure was worth it. So with that being said, y'all, this Black Balloon. And I'm gonna see y'all soon, man. I'm out.